the tamilcanadian.com team saw a need, and they used their technical experience and expertise to fulfill that need. So I'm proud to be here tonight. Thank you all of you for coming. Our first speaker this evening is Gary Anand-Sangri.
The term Tamil-Canadian became the common denoter to describe the community. And I really couldn't find anything before 1997. Most of the descriptions of the Tamil community in Canada, and by that I mean the Sri Lankan Tamil community who were in Canada at that time, were called Canadian Tamils, and many people identified themselves, self-identified themselves as Canadian Tamils. And what we see in 1997 is the first time in a formalized sense that the word Tamil Canadian was used. And I think this is very significant. Because if you look at the term that's used now, since, especially as we mature in this country, you are seeing the word Tamil Canadian as the standard term to describe the Canadian Tamil community, and I think that's very significant.
I write for the National Post. A couple of years ago, I wrote an article about Prabhakaran's sister, who lives here in Toronto, and I went to her house, I interviewed her a few times, and we took her photograph, and eventually the article was published both in our printed edition and also on our website, nationalpost.com. And the day it was published, my editor, who runs the National Post website, came over to me and he said, "What is the Tamil Canadian?" And I said, "Well, why?" And he said, "Well, because tons of people are reading your article on the web, but they're finding it, they're coming to it from the Tamil Canadian." And just to back up, if you know how websites work, if you have a website...
The relaunch of the Tamil Canadian. The celebration of democracy, freedom, differences, equitable representation and dissent is one of the ideas of civic moral office. So when I am speaking about democracy and freedom, I am not using the term democracy and freedom just as cliches. We all know, everyone has been using this term democracy and freedom. When George Bush says democracy and freedom, that's a different kind of democracy and freedom. When the countries like India, Sri Lanka, Sudan, when they use the same kind of terms and concept, democracy and freedom, that's a completely different kind of democracy and freedom that they are talking about. What I mean by democracy and freedom is the democracy has to be extended and advanced to include certain ideas of radical democracy. When I see the ideas of that radical democracy, what I simply mean is that it is not simply the issue of electoral representation or simply having elections every now and then, but a sustainable and a sustained institution and practices that can allow adequate and equitable representation of various marginalized and minority groups in the society. That takes a long time. And the current liberal democratic practices are extremely difficult and limited in a sense that there is a congenital problem with the existing liberal democratic principles. Even though we subscribe to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, even though we subscribe to the ideas of freedom, but we selectively use it. For example, we are all for freedom of expression, we are all for right to life, but we also practice dissent.
At these factories, or our head chefs, and our prominent professionals across the spectrum. And we've been hard workers, independent of the color of our collar, and we've been able to propel ourselves to the forefront of the society and be contributing members to the society. We are proof that the Canadian system works, that when people are provided an equal opportunity, when people are treated with compassion, that they will propel themselves to the forefront. This is an opportunity that we quite often did not have in the country that we previously resided in.
எங்களுடன் சேர்ந்தால் அதாவது தமிழர்கள் என்ற வார்த்தைகள் தமிழ் ஒட்டி கொண்டாலும் என்று பயந்து ஒதுங்கும் பெரும்பான்மை சமூக ஊடக அரசியல் சூழலும் அதே போல சுயநலப்பட்ட எமது சமூக பிரதிநிதிகளுக்கும்
செய்ய போகின்ற புதிய வெப்சைட்டில் இருந்து அவர் செய்ய போகின்ற சேவைக்கு தமது ஆதரவை வழங்கும் மூலமாக இங்கு வந்திருக்கின்ற அனைவருக்கும் எனது வணக்கத்தையும் தெரிவித்து இந்த புதிய வெப்சைட்டுக்கு as a business person that's all I would say எனது ஆதரவு நிறைய இருக்கும் என்று கூறி I know like Mr. Balaran said you need money so you need money. That's why I come against Mr. Professor Chair. We need pop-up ads. We need, I don't know if we have been to any of the newspaper sites. One of the big that came from American Express is block the whole screen. It's pop-up for 10 seconds and it's block the...
Multiculturalism and respect for one another's unique perspectives. The community institutions that we build serve to remind us and our children about who we are and where we come from. Back home, buildings demonstrated our identities. Our schools, our temples and churches, the iconic Jaffna Public Library. Here in Canada, from the 1970s to present, it is our community organizations that have become
into something that at the end of the day, the community has benefited from, but these guys have not taken anything out of. Sudha has, when he was at Carleton University, he was, in the engineering department, he was on OSAP, and like all of us, was basically living off the OSAP money. But he found the money to get a server, get a domain name. At that time, probably costed him a lot of money than what it does right now. Got the domain name, and...
Anything extra, everything is covered here. Thanks for Professor Zera. I learned a lot about the idea of solidarity. One Bala.
Thank you very much. Now we have Sudha Balasubramaniam, the Executive Director of tamilcanadian.com.
Participate and share the relaunch on Tamilcanadian. We never had the relaunch as we never thought our site will ever last this long, nor reach these heights. tamilcanadian.com is a team effort. Our team first started this project in 1997. First of all, I would like to recognize my colleagues and friends for their individual contributions. Raji and Sivanathan, you guys will do that. Raji and Sivanathan are here. We are missing our good friend Kaladan this evening. He unfortunately could not make it here. Without these three guys, my friends, all of these simply would not have been possible. Kaladan, who is missing here, has been the brain behind all of our.
So we heard it all, the contribution of Tamil Canadian to the Tamil Canadian community. Now, not only is this an amazing website, they get 40,000.
நாங்கள் அகதியை